The electricity crisis has already started, and almost nobody is talking about it. Every day, the media focuses on new AI breakthroughs, billion-dollar investments, and the race between technology companies to build the most powerful artificial intelligence systems in history. Investors are excited, CEOs are excited, governments are excited, but behind all the headlines is a problem so large that it could determine whether the AI revolution succeeds or stalls. That problem is electricity, not software, not computer chips, not regulation, electricity. The average person thinks AI exists in the cloud, floating somewhere on the internet. In reality, every AI response, every AI image, every AI video, and every AI-powered search depends on enormous physical infrastructure. Thousands of servers running 24 hours a day consume staggering amounts of power. The more advanced AI becomes, the more electricity it requires. And right now, demand is growing faster than America's energy infrastructure can keep up. What makes this story so important is that most people will not see the consequences until they begin, affecting everyday life. Higher electricity bills, increased pressure on power grids, regional energy shortages, and massive infrastructure spending could all become part of the AI era. The warning signs are already appearing, but very few people are paying attention. For decades, America's electricity demand followed a relatively predictable path. Utilities could estimate future consumption, build new infrastructure when necessary, and maintain stability across the grid. Economic growth increased demand gradually, while improvements in efficiency often reduced consumption elsewhere. The system was not perfect, but it was manageable. Then artificial intelligence arrived. Suddenly, some of the largest technology companies in the world began requesting amounts of power that utility executives had never seen before. Data centers that once supported websites and cloud storage evolved into massive AI computing facilities requiring unprecedented levels of electricity. Imagine a city of hundreds of thousands of people. Now imagine a single AI data center consuming a similar amount of power. That is no longer a hypothetical scenario. It is becoming reality. Utility companies across the country are receiving requests for gigawatts of electricity from AI developers. These projects are not planned for 10 years from now. Many are being built today. The challenge is that infrastructure moves slowly. Building power plants takes years. Expanding transmission networks takes years. Obtaining permits takes years. Yet AI demand is arriving immediately. That mismatch is creating the foundation for what could become one of the biggest economic stories of the decade. Most people underestimate how much energy artificial intelligence actually consumes. Training a cutting-edge AI model is not like running a normal computer program. It requires thousands of specialized processors working continuously for weeks or even months. Each processor consumes power. Each processor generates heat, and every bit of that heat must be removed through sophisticated cooling systems that require even more electricity. Once the model is trained, the energy consumption does not stop. Millions of users begin interacting with it every day. Every question, every image request, every generated video requires additional computing resources. Multiply that by hundreds of millions of users worldwide, and the numbers become extraordinary. A useful comparison is streaming video. 20 years ago, few people imagined that watching movies online would become one of the largest sources of internet traffic in the world. Today, it is completely normal and may be following a similar path, except its energy requirements are even larger. What begins as a technological innovation can quickly become an infrastructure challenge, and infrastructure challenges have a way of affecting everyone, whether they use the technology or not. The reason investors are starting to pay attention is because electricity is becoming a strategic resource. In the past, technology companies focused primarily on software, talent, and computing hardware. Now they are increasingly focused on securing long-term energy supplies. Some companies are signing massive electricity contracts years in advance. Others are investing directly in power generation projects. Some are even exploring nuclear energy partnerships to guarantee future access to electricity. Think about how significant that is. Software companies are discussing power plants because electricity has become one of the most important inputs for artificial intelligence. This shift reveals something important about the future. The AI race is not simply a competition between algorithms. It is a competition for resources. The companies that secure reliable and affordable electricity may gain enormous advantages over competitors that cannot. This creates a completely new dimension to the AI story. While the public focuses on chatbots and productivity tools, executives are thinking about transformers, substations, transmission lines, and energy contracts. The infrastructure behind the technology may ultimately become just as important as the technology itself. And this is where the story becomes personal for millions of Americans. When demand for a resource increases rapidly, prices often follow. Electricity is no different. Utility companies facing higher demand must invest in new infrastructure. They must build additional capacity, upgrade aging systems, and expand transmission networks. All of these projects cost money. In many cases, those costs are eventually passed on to consumers. Imagine opening your electricity bill 5 years from now and discovering that it has increased significantly. Most people might blame inflation or utility companies. Few would realize that part of the increase could be connected to the AI boom. This does not mean electricity prices will double overnight. It does mean that growing demand creates upward pressure on costs. At the same time, America is already undergoing another major energy transition. Electric vehicles require charging infrastructure. Manufacturing facilities are returning to the United States. Population growth continues increasing residential demand. AI is arriving on top of all these trends simultaneously. The combined effect could place enormous stress on systems that were never designed for such rapid growth. That possibility is why some experts believe the AI electricity crisis has already begun. What makes this situation even more fascinating is that the AI boom is arriving at exactly the same time America is trying to electrify its economy. Electric vehicles are becoming more common. Manufacturing companies are building new factories. Data centers are expanding. Air conditioning demand continues rising as temperatures increase. In many parts of the country, every one of these trends requires electricity. Individually, they would be manageable. Together, they create a challenge unlike anything utilities have faced in decades. For years, experts assumed electricity demand would grow slowly and predictably. Those assumptions are now being rewritten. Some utility companies are reporting demand forecasts that are multiple times higher than estimates made only a few years ago. The reason is simple. Artificial intelligence has changed the equation. The amount of electricity required to support the next generation of AI systems is so large that it is forcing planners to rethink the future of America's energy infrastructure. What looked sufficient 5 years ago may no longer be sufficient today, and what looks sufficient today may not be sufficient 5 years from now. The pace of change is accelerating faster than almost anyone expected. One of the most surprising developments is the growing interest in nuclear energy. For years, nuclear power was considered a declining industry in many parts of the world. New projects were expensive, regulations were strict, and investors preferred other opportunities. But AI is changing that conversation. Technology companies need large amounts of reliable electricity available 24 hours a day. Solar power helps, but the sun does not shine at night. Wind power helps, but the wind does not always blow. AI systems cannot simply shut down when weather conditions change. They require constant power. Nuclear energy offers something many other sources cannot: stable, continuous electricity generation. That is why some of the biggest companies in the world are now exploring partnerships with nuclear providers. It would have sounded strange a decade ago. Software companies discussing nuclear reactors, yet that is exactly where the conversation is heading. The demand created by artificial intelligence is so enormous that traditional energy solutions may not be enough. What was once a niche discussion is rapidly becoming a mainstream economic issue. History teaches an important lesson about technological revolutions. The companies that benefit most are not always the ones people expect. During the California gold rush, countless people searched for gold. Some became rich. Most did not. However, many of the largest fortunes were made by people selling tools, equipment, and supplies to miners. The same principle may apply to artificial intelligence. Everyone is focused on AI software companies. Everyone is trying to identify the next breakthrough model. But the hidden winners may be the companies supplying the infrastructure that makes AI possible. Utility providers, power generation companies, electrical equipment manufacturers, transformer producers, and energy infrastructure firms may all benefit from the enormous investment required to support the AI revolution. Investors often focus on what is visible. The smartest investors frequently focus on what is necessary. And right now, electricity is becoming one of the most necessary resources in the entire economy. Without it, AI cannot grow. Without it, the future many companies are promising simply cannot exist.